Second lesson is going on, and of the second lesson we are now taking the soil topic. We completed land topic, okay? Land resources, now moving to soil resources. Now look at the line. The thin layer of grainy substance, grainy substance covering the surface of the earth is called land. The thin layer of grainy substance, that you need to keep in mind. The soil layer is not very thick on the land. So wherever there is land area, in some places or there may be rocks, but most of the area is covered by a thin layer of one grainy type of substance that we call soil. Okay, small grains are there. Sometimes it can be big, but most of the time they are small in pieces. Okay, it is closely linked to land. Okay, sometimes we use both the term land and soil. So it is more or less we can say both are same. But soil means it is a fine soil layer on the land, but sometimes land may have rocky surface. There may not be soil surface, but soil is there and it is always on the land. Go to the next line. Landforms determine the type of soil. Now landform you should understand. Now in class 7th we have studied the three types of rock: igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic. So the soil type, the soil is actually formed from the rock. So soil depends on the landforms, what kind of soil it will be. Soil is made up of organic matter, minerals, weathered rocks found on the earth. Now look at here, you need to keep in mind soil is made of organic matter, minerals and weathered rock. You know the meaning of organic matter. What is organic matter? The decomposed parts of plants and animals, or it can be even decomposed parts of human bodies. So that is organic matter. Then there are minerals which are found in the earth. Then weathered rock. Weathered rocks means broken pieces of the rock. So all these things together form the soil. This happens through the process of weathering. So soil formation happens or takes place because of weathering, and we know the meaning of weathering. Weathering means breaking of rocks. If parent rock is there, that rock will break into the smaller pieces. Again the smaller pieces will break into small, it will become more small, and finally they turn into soil. The right mix of minerals and organic matter make the soil fertile. A point to be noted here, organic matters, okay, and minerals, these two things make the soil fertile. The minerals can be, there may be silica, there may be iron, there may be limestone, there may be potash. All types of minerals are found in the soil. And organic matter, I told you, it can be the dead parts of plants and animals. So the mixture of minerals and organic matter makes the soil fertile. So I hope you have understood. Now moving to the next paragraph. Okay, go to the next paragraph. Now you will get the next topic is the factors of soil formation. How soil is formed. I think before going to this paragraph we need to look at that diagram. Now let's look at the diagram. Look at the diagram, then we will understand what are the factors of soil formation. Okay. Now soil formation factors are given over here. First is given parent rock. As I told you, soil is formed from the parent rock. Weathering will take place. Breaking of the soil, breaking of the rock will take place. So parent rock is there. So parent rock will determine the color, texture, chemical properties and mineral content and permeability. Permeability means whether the rock is porous or not. So parent rock is very important, and I told you there can be parent rock of three types. What are the three types? There are igneous rocks, there are sedimentary rocks, and there are metamorphic. Correct, there are metamorphic rocks. So parent rock will give color to the soil. texture to the soil, and chemical properties, mineral and mineral content. Then permeability means whether it is porous or not. So that is about the parent rock. Now moving to the relief, next factor is given here, relief. Now what is relief? Altitude and slope determine the accumulation of soil. Altitude means height and slope means on the slope of the mountain. Okay, now altitude means very high areas. On the high areas, and if it is a slopy area, the soil weathered material will not remain over there. Okay, it will not remain, it will slide down. But in the plain areas, it will remain. So relief matters a lot, whether it is a plain area, whether it is a slopy area. If it is a slopy area, the rock soil formation may be very slow or maybe incomplete. But on a plain area where weathered pieces are there, soil formation will continue and it will slowly turn into soil. Then moving to the next point, it is given here, look at climate. Under climate you will get temperature, rainfall, influence rate of weathering and humus formation. Now, climate is also very much responsible for the soil formation, and climate will include two factors. Factor number 1 is given temperature, factor number 2 is given rainfall. Okay. Now, temperature means during daytime temperature will increase, rocks will expand, during night time they will contract, and again in the morning they will expand. So contraction and expansion, finally it will break. Rain also influence the breaking of the rocks. Humus content. Okay, now because of the temperature, because of the rainfall, whatever the weathered materials are there, it will decompose and it will mix with the rocks. Okay, it will mix with the soil. Now moving to the next, flora, fauna and microorganisms, that part you look at here, affect the rate of humus formation. So organic matter, from where it comes? Flora means plants, fauna means your animals, then small microorganisms are also there. So they help in, they give humus content to the soil. Now the last point is given time. Now time also is very important, because it takes a long period of time for the formation of 1 centimeter thick soil layer. So all these factors you need to keep in mind. The first factor is given parent rock, second factor is given relief, third factor is given climate, fourth is given flora, fauna and microorganisms, fifth is given time. So these are the 5 factors which are there, which are helping in the formation of soil. Now moving to the paragraph, you look at the paragraph now. The major factors of soil formation are the nature of the parent rock. Look at here, the very important factor for the formation of soil is parent rock. Parent rock is very important. Then the second factor is given climatic factors. So parent rock, that is igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic, and in wherever they are, what type of climate is there, whether it is dry climate, whether it is humid climate, or rainfall is more or less, or temperature is high or less. So that affects the formation of soil. Other factors are, now look at the other factors which are given over here. Topography. Topography is the top layer of the earth. Then role of organic material, that humus content, organic minerals. Then time taken for the composition of soil formation. So look at, we have got the points again. I am telling you the points. First one is given parent rock, second one is given climatic factors, third one is given topography, fourth one is given the role of organic material, fifth one is given time. So all these factors are helping in the formation of soil. And in the table also, this flow, this type of diagram is known as flow diagram. So this diagram is also very clear to you, that There are parent rock, relief, climate, time, flora and fauna. These are the factors which are helping in the soil formation. Now moving to the next topic. Now let us see what is given over here. Next topic is degradation of soil. No, before going to that topic, look at the activity. Activity, that one box is given. Look at that box. Now in India's soils could be, now different types of soils are there. Now what type of soil are found in India? The first one is given alluvial soil. Second one is given red soil. Oh no, black soil, then red soil, laterite soil, desertic soil, mountain soil. So in India we find alluvial soil, black soil, red soil, laterite soil, desertic soil and mountain soil. So you need to remember these names. Okay, in India we have alluvial soil, we have black soil, we have red soil, we have laterite soil, we have desert soil, then we have mountain soil. Okay. Now moving to the next topic, look at the topic here. It is degradation of soil and conservation measures. Now what are degradation of soil? Like how we have studied land degradation, same way the soil also gets degraded. Okay, so that, and how we can conserve it, that topic we are going to start. Now look at soil erosion and depletion are the major threats to soil as a resource. A threat means they are at danger because of the two things: soil erosion takes place, depletion of soil takes place. Now soil gets eroded. How it gets eroded? Sometimes rain is there, rain will take the top soil from one place to another place, even wind takes the soil from one place to another place. So soil erosion takes place and soil gets depleted, soil gets degraded. Okay, both human and natural factors can lead to degradation of soils. Now look at here, who are responsible or which factors are responsible for the soil degradation? The two factors are there, one is human activities and the second one is given natural factors are there. Okay. Two factors which are responsible for soil degradation, one is human activity, second one is given natural factors. Okay. Now factors which lead to soil degradation are, so look at here which factors are given here. The factors which are degrading the soil. Factor number one is deforestation, overgrazing, overuse of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, rainwash, then landslides and floods. There are so many factors which are degrading the soil. I repeat the first one, deforestation. You know the meaning of deforestation, clearing the forested areas, overgrazing done by the animals in a particular area, then overuse of chemical fertilizers and pesticides in the agricultural land. Then next factor is given rainwash. Whenever rain is there, the top layer of the soil is being taken away. Landslides takes place. Then floods are also there. So these factors are responsible for the soil degradation. So do remember, the question can come, what are the factors which are responsible for the soil degradation? The previous one we studied land degradation. Now here it is soil degradation. Okay. Now moving to the next. Look at here. Some methods of soil conservation are listed below. Now we are going to learn, there are some particular methods. If we follow those methods, we can conserve soil, we can protect soil. Now what are these methods? The first one, look at here, the first one is given mulching. Now what is mulching? Look at the line. The bare ground between plants is covered with a layer of organic matter like straw. It helps to retain soil moisture. Okay. You must have seen in some of the garden areas, during summertime mostly we do it. The gardeners, what they do, if there are plants are there, near the roots, what they do on the top of the earth, they cover this particular area with straw or with the dry grasses. Now this will make a barrier. This will protect the soil, because then whatever water is there inside the ground, less evaporation will take place. So this type of method is known as mulching. I hope you have understood what they do. Wherever plants are there, they cover that particular area with the dry grasses so that evaporation will be less and they can save the water during summer. So that is mulching. Now moving to the next point is contour barriers. Now contour barriers you need to understand. I will explain it. First you look at the line. Stones, grass, soil are used to build barriers along contours. Trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect water. Now what is contour you need to understand first. The contour means on the slopes of the hills. There are mountains, and mountains there are having slope, but it is not that always very sharp slanting slopes. Okay, there may be some areas which may be little flat, then there will be slope. So we can do one thing, which is the flat area on the top of the mountain, that can be used for growing crops at the end of the contour line. At the end of the where it is the deep sharp slope starts, where that we can cover that particular area with the grasses, with the stones, with the soil, making little higher than the ground. Then whenever the rain will be there, the less water, it will not slide down very fast. Okay, then here the barrier will be there. This barrier will reduce the soil erosion. Okay, I hope you have understood. Now moving to the rock dam. Next point is your rock dam. Rocks are piled up to slow down the flow of water. This prevents gullies and further soil loss. Maybe during rainy season the water start flowing from the mountains. To stop that, they make this barrier, and when the barrier is made, the soil will not be taken down. So this is the rock dam, they make it. Okay, now moving to the next one, terrace farming. Now terrace farming is very easy to understand. Terrace farming is mostly done on the slopes of the mountains. Okay, now how do they do it? What they do, if we will cultivate on the slopes, now this slopy land, whenever rain is there, it will slide down, water will slide down and it will take the soil from there. So what they do, they cut the slopes into the steps of a mountain. Clear? Now the steps are cut. Now what they do, wherever the flat areas are there, they will grow the crop, and the slanting areas they will avoid growing crops. So even these steps will now reduce the flow of water, because now it is creating a barrier. So that is known as terrace farming. Broad flat steps or terraces are made on the steep slopes so that flat surfaces are available to grow crops. They reduce surface runoff and soil erosion. So mountain slopes are cut into steps and the flat areas are used for growing crops, and this area, the slopy area, they don't use it. Even the step cutting, now even if the water comes from the top of the mountain, now the speed will be reduced because it is now becoming, it has to cross so many steps. So that is the terrace farming. Mostly it is done in the hilly areas, not in the flat areas. There is no need of doing in the flat areas. Now next is given intercropping. Now name itself suggests you intercropping means one crop, then the next crop should be different. Now if suppose in a flat land area we grow rice here, then after rice we will leave some space and there we will grow tall grasses, again rice, again tall grasses. Now this tall grasses will reduce the speed of the wind. It will break the speed of the wind, and wind will not be able to carry the soil from there. Okay, This is the intercropping. Even intercropping, if there is one area is rice, the other area is some other type of vegetation. Now this vegetation will block the movement of the soil. Okay, so that is why intercropping can be done to avoid soil erosion. Look at the line. Different crops are grown in alternate rows. Different crop, as I told you, rice, then grasses or another vegetation, then again rice, then again grasses. So alternate rows are there. Okay, so they will be protecting the soil, maybe from the wind erosion, maybe from the erosion by the rainwater. Now moving to the next, that is given here, contour plowing. Okay, the next one is given contour plowing. Actually you need to understand the meaning of contour, then you will understand. Before, the one point before was given contour barriers. So contour barriers were given, am I right? That is here, this one contour barrier. Then now you are getting contour plowing. Now what is contour? You need to understand. Actually contour means a line which is joining the areas of same height, and we will get the such type of heights on the mountains. Okay, now mountains, as I told you, it is not that every time mountain will have very steep slope. There may be some areas which may be little flat, and again the mountain is having slope on other side. So this flat area on the top of a mountain will be used for growing the crops, and the steep area will not be used for growing the crop. Actually terrace farming and contour plowing more or less same. Terrace farming is done by human beings. We cut the slope of the mountain, but in contour plowing we don't cut. We will find the natural place which is flat and will grow the crop. So that is only the difference between contour plowing and terrace farming. Terrace farming, we cut the slope of the mountain into steps, and contour plowing, we find the flat areas on the mountain and we use that area to grow the crops. So we don't disturb the natural setup. Okay. So have you understood the difference between contour plowing and terrace farming?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now the last point is given over here. Shelter belts. Shelter belts. Look at here. In the coastal and dry regions. So which two areas we find shelter belt? In the coastal areas, in the dry areas. Rows of trees are planted to check the wind movement to protect soil cover. So what they do, I will tell you. Suppose shelter belt mostly found in the coastal areas and dry areas. Now I am giving the example of dry area. Dry area means deserts. Suppose there is a desert, okay, but what we have to do, in the desert soil will move because of the winds are there, but around the desert, not in the desert, around the desert we will grow the plants. Okay, all over the around the desert we will grow the plants. Now these plants, what will do, whenever the wind will try to carry the sand from there, they will obstruct the wind. Okay, the speed of the wind will be reduced. Then this wind will not be able to carry the sand from there to another place. So what we have done, we have made a shelter, we have made a barrier, we have made the barrier with the help of planting the trees around the desert. So in that way we can protect the soil will not move to the other area. So these are the methods which you need to keep in mind how soil conservation can be done.